I'm James Brooks. I'm an artist that works mostly in 2D. My preferred mediums are usually watercolors and inks. Sometimes experiment with design and the composition.
How has your background sort of shaped your style, or maybe even the medium that you use?
Going with watercolor and inks, they kind of just evolved into that. I originally would do other types of drawing and maybe more like oil paintings before, and I thought that's oil and acrylic painting would be more what I'd be doing. But I had an experience in art school where I learned we did like a little watercolor section of a class, and it was so hard. I was doing so bad at it. I was like, oh man, I really need to work on work on this and improve it. So I just kept like really focusing on it in that class, and then I actually took a watercolor class. It sparked or kept caught on, and it ended up being my best medium, my most effective medium. My degree is in illustration from Long Beach State. So watercolor is something you really see a lot in illustration, and it's just it's a very effective medium just for that field. So
Watercolor, for whatever reason, it's introduced, or maybe because it's not as messy as like especially oil paints, but it's introduced at to a younger age. But it's a really complex medium to work in because it shows every single move that you make.
yeah, it is very it's not as forgiving as many other mediums are for sure. And you have to definitely have a different mindset when you're working with watercolor. There's so many effects that you can do, and I think what really draws me to the process is that you're not really forcing every. It's not like you coming to it and making something happen necessarily, but it's kind of like you negotiating with the medium itself. The surprises for you as a person who's working on it, or the surprises for me whenever I'm working on it, and it gives, and these surprises gives me something to react to and to yeah, to kind of like spur the creativity. I like not being all the way in control, like letting situations kind of have elements of little pieces of out of control, even though my work does look very controlled. I really like that kind of like problem solving
Oh
and
yeah.
engagement with the work.
How do you approach a piece?
I feel like I usually need to have like a plan and it all together. So like on my Instagram, I'll show sketches of me just around the city or just of things to see, just thinking thoughts. When I get to the piece I'm gonna make, the final piece, I usually want to come to it with a clearest idea as possible of where I'm gonna go. And even then, there's still things happen and kind of give you kind of that come up in the middle of it that gives me a different ideas and little change of directions and but I usually do a lot of pre-planning before drawing it out, figuring out what the image should be, what's important in the image, and what carries the meanings that I want to put into it. I've drawn a number of times of like, okay, this is it. Then I can do the drawing, kind of have to get close to more of some parts of it seeming more like effortless.
What does your work aim to say? Do you have a central theme that you kind of want to portray in some of your work?
It's really like family based and thinking about history and genealogy, thinking about ancestors, like your connection to all the people who came before you, all the people who've kind of like were in the relay race and passing the baton up and further up until it got to you, and you're in the middle of this. We know we have like specific ancestors, and we know we have specific people in our family, but there's also, in a larger sense, your cultural traditions. It might be like the music that that the people that you came from created, the other arts, the viewpoints, and just all just culture itself. To signify that is a mask that appears in some of the drawings. So this mask is a mask that represents for these people, and they're Black people, they're African Americans, so they came from they have this lineage of the history in the United States. They came from Africa through the transatlantic slave trade, and they have they had this longer history in Africa that went for forever backwards, basically. So I have this mask that connects them to it, and it's kind of like the all of the lessons that were learned through this process, all of the determination and persistence that allowed um, these people to get to where they are. It's all kind of it manifested into this physical mask, and in there in the drawings world, it's the actual physical object where that it has all of them, kind of like a talisman that protects them. So it faces different ways in the character's face, or it sees what the characters what's blocked out from the characters with where their senses might be blocked out. That's kind of like thinking of this past that you learn from and that's with you, and that can carry you through your own like the present day situations, or this present world that they live in.
Yeah. I'm thinking of two pieces in particular, Finding Your Roots and Never Leave Home Without It. Both of those have the mask in them. Another aspect, though, that is in both of these pieces and in a lot of your work is the subject's face, as you mentioned, is sort of hidden, or senses are sort of hidden. Is there a symbolism behind this as well?
But when it's the mask, I think about it as like counteracting where their sense is taken off. So they might not be, you might not see their face, but there's a face that's looking at out. If their mouth is covered, they have something that can speak for them. It basically has their back. It's looking out for them where they can't see.
So it's almost like their ancestral past and possibly cultural past can help inform the subjects.
Yeah, just that connection that there's people that's been gone through that has gone through things that are that they learn lessons, or they survive things, or they didn't survive things, but the answer is still there, how to move forward. And sometimes those answers in the past are helpful in the present, not only to learn, but then also just out of respect for the that continuity that you're a part of, and then that you'll be eventually part of the continuity for somebody else, your own existence and your own story.
You also do illustrations, and I've noticed that there's a lot more almost collage in the illustrations. There's a lot of music or construction or cars. Do you often have your ink work or the illustrations inform your ink work?
I guess that there are some like similarities that inform them. Like one of the things like that the background, just getting rid of the space around the subject and just kind of focusing on it, having it in these spaces where it can be almost like sculptural, just in this empty space, is something I started leaning towards in the illustration, and it did go into the ink drawings as well. I think they kind of function a little differently. Like for the ink drawings, for me, this space is so that there's not really time to it or any specific sense of place, so that this idea of them going through something, and that what they have with them is something that's just beyond whatever their circumstances would be. So it's kind of like it could be in any time. It could be in the future, or it could be in present time, that are like views on poverty. And if they're part of it, that might be one of the things that they face, or it might be racism, or it might be something it might be an environmental thing that affects them, that they have this that they're up against. And yeah, that connection. They kind of have different things, but it's just like different principles of different parts of art that I have experience with. I do kind of like think about them and kind of interweave them.
You've also done some collaborative work with other artists. What do you look for whenever you're interested in doing a collaboration?
It's kind of like my philosophy going into like using my preference for like the watercolors and inks where I like to have control of what's going on, but I also like these elements of just things being out of control and just doing their own thing, so I can figure out that so I can take things in the direction that's beyond where I might be thinking of taking it. Or I think collaborations really offer that. You can, there's somebody else that has just a whole different idea, that has different ways of working, and it's really exciting to like be to confront it, and then also think about, okay, well, what can I do to help it, or how does this inform what I'm doing, how does what I'm doing inform what they're doing.
And you're also an art teacher. I feel like I may know the answer, but does that inform some of your work as well? Do you draw inspiration from teaching?
Yeah, I think teaching definitely informs uh, the work that anybody does, or I think it should. It's when you're exposed to seeing how so many different people come to art,
Mm-hmm.
it is really inspiring, and people come to art with different things you might see that they might do that's unusual, and you might think, oh, well, let me try this, or assignment that we've done that I might think, oh, you know what, I like this assignment too. Maybe I should assign this to myself. So
If somebody was to see one of your shows and it was their first ever art show, how would you describe what it is that you're doing?
it's a show about people. It's I'm engaged. I want to engage them to think about not just the people that they're seeing, but having their own connection to it as well. So even though a lot of the subject matter that I have are specific, like in the drawings, it is Black Americans that had a certain kind of path into the present day that they are. I also want other people to make those connections too, because I think these things apply to so many people, especially Americans who would see it.
Is there a certain direction that you're hoping to continue your work in the future?
I would like to do really expand on these portraits, and for it to be almost more of a world building aspect to it. So the things that really float around in my head are kind of like fashion lookbooks, to expand the meaning and to just explore other types of meaning that might be in that subject, and just working with these. But a lot of it's just experimentation, seeing where it goes.
Is there any place that people can go to follow you and support you?
You can follow me at James Makes Art on Instagram. That's one of the best place to follow me. And you can see my website at jamesmakesart.com. Usually you'll see the updates on the Instagram of any shows coming up, or keep an eye on those stories.
Yeah, we'll do. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time for this.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm grateful for this time to talk with you.